Hi, my name is Sarah Bentley Pearson, and I am excited to share my podcast, which features wonderful talent that I've been so lucky to discover in the Southeast. This was born out of a list that I created in 2015 called Sarah's List. And through my work in real estate, which I've been doing since 2005, and styling work, and just my personal life and my personal interests, I've been able to meet so many wonderful people, and I'm excited to share them with you. So Terry, I've been wanting to have you on for a long time. You're one of my favorite people. I love your wife Shannon. We've vacationed together, and you're a real talent. So welcome.
Thank you, Sarah. I'm, I feel very blessed that you have selected me with the people you really like in town. So thank you.
Oh, thank you. So you're an interesting person. In fact, you are somebody that I really admire because being a foreigner and coming to the United States and creating a beautiful business, it's hard to do. But it's common for America. But tell me, when you were a little kid, was this something that you thought about doing, or did it just unfold that way?
Well, being from Corsica, which is a very beautiful island, I never intended to leave the island. Always wanted to live there. Uh, I was not really maybe um proactive enough to decide, what I wanted to do really with my life. But one thing I really love was the island and the mountain, the sea, the diving. And when I was a teenager, I wanted just to be just to be to live a very simple life and actually have to be a shepherd, and
A what?
shepherd, the goats, a shepherd.
Oh, a shepherd.
Yeah, that was
Okay.
my dream as a kid, being free, freedom alone, the mountain, and having a peaceful life. And this is what my first inspiration was. And then it evolved to me, obviously, growing up a little bit. And my father was in a construction. My brother was taking some, he was in college, university to be an architect, very high DPLG architect.
Mhm.
And that led me to get involved with my father after I graduate and really get my hands dirty and really understand the constructions, architecture, and it was my destiny was for me to take over my father's business in Corsica.
Was he a tastemaker like you?
What?
A taste maker?
A GC has to execute. My mother is the creative part of the family, and
Mm,
my brother.
mhm.
My father had a large company in Corsica, which is very challenging to keep together. But a GC has to execute. So very smart thinker, very aggressive, successful, very fast. And I've worked with him. And after I graduate, and I was ready to take the challenge.
So so you kind of got a mix of the artistic mixed with the business, which is really, kind of a perfect combination. But who was your well, for the audience who's listening, you have a business, Francois Co, that makes beautiful mantles and floors and hoods to go over stoves, and then you make these beautiful countertops. Are they? What is the material, that metal material that you use on countertops?
Where we use pewter, we use
Pewter.
brass,
Hmm.
bronze. But just to give you a overall description of what I end up, what Francois Co is about is, I've started. But first of all, let's go back to the experience I had when I was a kid. My parents always took us for the whole month of August. We would leave. We had an RV, small RV. I mean, we're talking about from the age of 8 until probably even 14, 15, and 16. And so every year they took us for a full month on trips. So we have discovered the best city in Europe: Paris, Florence, We went, we would go all the way up to Norway, Sweden, Denmark, Eastern Europe, North Africa, the desert. They have exposed us to everything that they could have.
How do you take an RV to North Africa?
You go to Gibraltar, you get a boat, and
Oh,
you
okay.
get to Algeria, and then you just drive south. And so they have put us, the three of us, I have two brothers, in this kind of a mood of always being wanting to discover.
Mm.
And the discovery was always about witnessing the creative architectures in every town, from Marrakesh to Florence, from Venice.
Well,
Uh,
Marrakesh is a real splendor.
yes, but I'll give you one of my best story I have in south of Morocco is when we drove to the Sahara, the desert,
Mhm.
and my father said we're going to go to a four-star hotel, but it's going to take us 2 days to make it. So we all got excited, and the RV we had was called a Comer. It's an old, back, probably it was a 1980 Comer, which is as big as this conference table almost, a little bit bigger than that. And it's an English brand, Comer. They don't make anymore. And so we drove for 2 days, and then after a while, I talked. We were like, This cannot be a four-star hotel here." And we drove, and then we saw a huge sign, and then you had the name of the hotel with four-star. And so we park in the parking. There was just a couple of cars, and we took stairs down, and the hotel was underground. It was carved into the sand that turned into rock. So it's a
Mhm.
soft sand, so
Mm.
like a limestone. And the architecture there, obviously, which is primitive, but the detail they put, the bed were carved into the stone and a cover with lime, all white, beautiful curtains. It's almost like what you see now, for example, on 38, those beautiful house with a very transitional that style is what I witnessed when I was probably 12 years old. There was no hallway. There was just like a big hall on the middle of desert, and the dining room was the size of a basketball field that was carved about I would say about 20 meters down. So the dining room at night, when you look up the sky, it was just so unbelievable, the clarity of the star and the sky. But the architecture, even though it was primitive, carved with, in the desert middle of nowhere, there's always in each country an opportunity to identify the style and the architecture, the point and the culture they have.
Mhm.
And we were exposed to that a lot.
Mm.
So it came of grow in my personality to observe and to remember. And then slowly but surely, then, you become who you are and you have an identity. And this identity is relative to what you've been exposed when you were a child.
Yeah, travel is very important.
So François and Co, to answer your question is, with that in mind, I always had a passion about restoration. When I see beauty, especially on architecturals, and when I see how we have evolved and what we build, I respect what has been done and carved and produced with materials and limestone.
Mhm.
I respect that, and I have this kind of I'm craving for preservation. I want to preserve it. So François and Co, I started with coming up with a line of a collection of fireplace mantels. So I was in France. I bought antique mantels.
And so they were replicas of
Yeah,
things that you
I bought the
found.
antique, which are very
Mm.
expensive
Yeah.
mantels, but and then I brought them here. This is my startup, and
Mhm.
I created a line of maybe about 10 different style, beautiful. But I did it in a way where it was like a museum quality of production, where you could really see the marks from the tools from the original artist that made it and carved it about 300-400 years ago. And for me, that was such a great value that nobody was doing. And I started that way. The market was not ready for that in Atlanta for a few years, so I ended up being solicited to do some inspiration piece that I was not a big fan of, but
More like
slow.
the designer would say, "Hey, I like this, but could you do it this way?"
Yes, yeah,
Blah, blah, blah.
but my taste is very pure, especially when it comes to restoration. So I want it to be very authentic, and it took a few years for designer to really recognize the combination of those museum quality reproduction was even more valuable than trying to do a reproduction even in hand carved, because I was able to capture the tooth mark and the defect from the original piece.
Mm.
So I started that.